Hello everyone, and welcome to the presentation of my final project. My name is Tova Wamsley, and for my final project I've decided to create an interactive website where you get to choose what you do. It's like a game. As you can see, we've got a begin button right here. So I'm going to press the begin button. It will take us to a different page where we will begin our story. And as you can see here, here's the start page. It has a big title that says start. It got a nice little picture here to represent everything, and two buttons at the bottom to select the next option, and obviously the audio clip, the start audio clip. So I'm going to go ahead and press that, and we shall begin. The sound of your alarm wakes you up around 12:45 on a Saturday afternoon in July. You can hear a noise coming from outside, so you open your eyes, roll over, and look across to the window. As your blurred vision focuses, you wince at the embodiment of Scottish summer that is occurring outside your window. Grey skies accompanied with the pitter-patter of rain. It had been raining all week, and now it is starting to become dull. Why did it have to rain today? You ask yourself as you lumber your hand across to deactivate your alarm. With a yawn and a stretch, you sit up and shift your legs around so they are hanging off of the bedside. The hardwood floor, cold like the surface of Loch Lomond under your feet, cause your arms to develop goosebumps, but you brave the cold and you stand upright. You slowly lug yourself lazily to the kitchen and make a late breakfast and a coffee to bring some life to your face. As you enter the kitchen, you pick up the remote and protrude it towards the television with a synchronized click of a button to turn it on. You turn around to pop your toast down in the toaster and boil the kettle. You place your favourite spreads on the table and return to the kettle as it starts to boil. The news at 1 starts and you catch yourself watching as you make your coffee. Welcome to the news at 1. Our top story today: UK inventor Andrew Cleve has finalised his innovative invention and has already begun mass production of it. An artificial tree that can produce 10 times the amount of oxygen from carbon dioxide that a natural tree can. He believes that the idea will save the world from excessive CO2 and is unveiling it tonight. It has been distributed to major towns in the masses, ready to be planted. You sit down with your coffee and toast and take a bite, half listening to the rest of the bulletin. You hear that Dr. Cleve will be visiting multiple stages in your town. Claire mentioned at work yesterday that she was going to a protest today about climate change and that they'll be marching through the town. She did invite you. However, you replied you might attend if you're able, as you have made previous engagements for the day to meet friends, maybe go for a swim if you have time. You finish your breakfast and look towards the television again, switching it off as there is a wide shot of protesters gathering in the town centre. It looks like the protest is already in motion. After taking a quick shower and throwing on an assortment of clothes, you open the front door to leave the house and look. Rain, slightly heavier than it was when you woke up. You look to your car that's parked in the driveway, but then you look to the umbrella and coat hanging in the hallway. Are you going to walk to the town centre today, or are you going to drive? Okay, so that was the first audio clip that we had. We can either walk to the town, or we can choose to drive to the town. So those are the first two small options that you can do. We're going to drive to the town today. It's raining quite badly out there, so we don't want to get too wet when we're going to town. Okay, so here's the third page. Same sort of idea. It's got everything the same thing. You got the title, you got the buttons at the bottom, the picture, the audio file that we're going to have a look at, and it's going to tell us the next part of the story. You turn once more to look at your coat and umbrella, before you decide that it is better to drive and to stay dry than it would be to walk and get soaked. You pick up your keys and dart for the car door, dodging and prancing between each raindrop, legs flailing like a cheetah on ice. You wrench open the car door and jump in, landing perfectly in the driver's seat, an action well rehearsed and would be ready for the Olympics if there existed such a competition. The car door hastily follows suit, leaving you in the almost silent interior of your car. You breathe out with a shiver as you prepare your car for heat when the engine is switched on. However, you brace yourself for the initial rush of cold air. Switching your car on, you are blasted with the chill, but are patient and sit in your driveway, letting the engine run for a little bit to heat up. After the car is nicely heated, you put on your seatbelt and pull out of your drive. Looking around, you can see that there is a little flooding around your street. Although you were lucky, some people's drives run downhill, and the rainwater is halfway up the tires of their cars. You turn your attention back to the road, and you can see that someone is waiting to turn right onto the road into town. You slow to a stop and wait for a minute until he completes his maneuver, and you pull forward to do the same. You look up and down and realise how busy the traffic is into town. You manage to find a gap and move slowly, following the person in front of you. You wonder why the traffic is extremely busy, whether it's due to protests or the flooding. Your attention is brought back to the sound of the rain on your rooftop getting heavier. Damn, this rain just won't stop, you think to yourself as you navigate the roads. Turning the next corner, you can feel your tyres losing grip slightly on the road as you turn due to the rain, giving you as much control as a cat on a Segway. After straightening your wheels, you can feel the control return to you, and you decide to take it a little easier when driving, as this weather is becoming less of a laughing matter by the minute. You pass a police blockade, preventing people from driving down a flooded residential area. A disgruntled resident can be heard arguing loudly with an officer about their rights to enter a road with their vehicle. The officer, a statue of a man, unmoving from his post. As you approach the town centre, the traffic and pedestrian situation worsens slightly. However, luckily, you approach a car park as someone is leaving, so you quickly claim the parking bay and park your car. Looking out of the window, you plan your route to keep as dry as you can. You wait for a short break in the rain and jump out of the car. You run to cover under a shopping centre close by and stand there for a moment. You feel your phone buzz. It is a message from Jordan asking if you are still coming. Jordan is from a small group of friends that you have decided to make plans and meet up with today for a meal. The usual steakhouse. The second notification is a picture that Claire posted from the protest with the caption, "Soaked, but worth it." Somebody accidentally bumps into you and apologises, continuing their way to join the protest. You can see the steakhouse across your street to the left, whilst your eyes are drawn towards where the protesters are going to your right. You stand under the cover of the shopping centre and decide what you are going to do. Do you attend the meal with your friends, or do you join the protests and get food later? So, same sort of decision. We're either going to join the event or we're going to get a meal with our friends. We're going to decide to get a meal with our friends today. Oh, and here we go. Same sort of idea once again. Steakhouse meal. It's got a picture, it's got the buttons and the audio file. So this is basically what happens throughout the story. So let's click the button. You bide your time with the steakhouse in sight, ready to run when the rain breaks even a little bit. You breathe deeply and wait. You see a short break and run towards the steakhouse, avoiding puddles as you go. When you arrive at the steakhouse, you hide for a moment under the shop front canopy, catching your breath. The door opens and someone exits, the warmth gliding across your wet face and the delicious smell of meat entering your nostrils. Your stomach responds with a growl, signifying that the toast was not nearly enough to satisfy it. You peer through the window at the interior of the steakhouse. Inside, there is a lot of low lighting, like the embers of a fire lighting the faces of all the diners. You peer to the left to watch a waiter wander past with what they call a mighty steak, which is an extortionately sized steak that can barely fit on the plate. The waiter disappears out of sight. Shifting your gaze, you focus on the massive open kitchen sitting at the center of the restaurant. You see chefs preparing meals for the diners, waiters taking the meals, and fire leaping from the stove caused by escapee droplets of oil. You watch as a chef whacks a large steak onto the grill, and it begins to sweat and brown almost instantaneously. Your line of sight, however, is obscured by a giant face appearing in front of you. After almost stumbling in surprise, you realize it's only Taylor, one of your friends, the unorthodox one. You see Taylor laugh and run back to a table seating Riley and Jordan, your other friends. Entering the establishment, you feel the warmth roll over you and a scent take over as you make your way to your friend's table. You sit and smile to Riley and Jordan. Riley is a reserved, shy person of the group who doesn't speak much, and Jordan is the very same Jordan who has been blowing up your phone. "Where have you been?" Taylor asks excitedly. "You are absolutely soaked. The rain is getting crazy out there." Taylor is extremely excitable, like a golden retriever chasing a frisbee. "Oh really? I hadn't noticed," you answer with a hint of jokey sarcasm. The whole group starts laughing and talking as the waiter comes over to hand the menus to the group. You decide on what you want and you place your order. After a while, the meal arrives. You see nothing out of the ordinary until the waiter places a mighty steak in front of Taylor, who stares at it with delight, drooling from the mouth. Everyone begins their meals and eats until they are full. You can't help but look at Taylor's plate. Only half of the steak was eaten. The rest was probably going to go to waste. A bit of a shame,